It is not an easy process. It should not be underestimated because the task ahead is quite hard, and you also need to deal with issues like reverting back to old ways. So we'll be just taking a look at that. I'll be joined in studio by recovering alcohol addict, as well as an individual who's gone out of his way to try and help persons that are battling alcohol addiction or people that are addicted to alcohol to just overcome it. So that is a conversation you definitely should not miss, and that will be later on in the program. Now, welcome. My name is Cynthia Nanjala. Engage with us across our social media platforms. We'd love to have your feedback this morning on just, various aspects of this program that we are going to tackle on EBN TV's Facebook page. Our SMS line as well is open 23059. The hashtag on X is hashtag Morning Live. Tag us at TV_EBN. You can also tag me at It's Nanjala. Let's get this show started and take a look at what is making headlines across the country this morning. Now, the planned recruitment of 10,000 police officers expected to commence this week remains uncertain as the National Police Service and the National Police Service Commission continue to clash over who should oversee the exercise. During a parliamentary session on Tuesday, tensions flared once more, with the police service insisting that it is the appropriate body to conduct the recruitment. The disagreement has raised concerns over potential delays in the hiring process, leaving stakeholders awaiting a resolution.
We are going to discuss quite sensitive matters, actually, on matters affecting national security. I would request that if around, that you can do it actually away from cameras.
We are discussing the National Police recruitment, which I don't think is a secret. I think it is something that Kenyans need to know.
There is nothing secretive about it. Yeah, it's not a matter of national security.
Maybe the chair can do his part. One is done with his part, the rest we can do in camera.
Our agenda, whether National Police Service Commission, National Police Service, the agenda is
the ugly scene that we saw before, tug of war between the payroll and the rest. Issues that are being addressed internally.
The advertisement is proposed to be published on 11th September 2025 with recruits targeted to report to the training college on 17th November 2025.
Now, that was one of the issues that was highlighted on Monday's newspaper, if you remember, when we were tackling it right here, where there was a standoff between the two organs. The president, William Ruto, tried to come in and just, sort of broker truce, but it was impossible with the NPS and the Service Commission just, sitting at, or just seeing things from a different point of view. And so 10,000 officers who are set to be, recruited and subsequently trained, that plan is just, not in play at the moment. So we'll be looking forward to see just how that pans out and whether the two organs can come to an agreement. A new report by the International Justice Mission has revealed that 42.9% of Kenyans surveyed between 2022 and 2024 experienced some form of police abuse, raising fresh concerns about accountability within the security sector. The report, launched during a ceremony attended by representatives from the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, IPOA, the National Police Service, the Law Society of Kenya, and other stakeholders in the criminal justice system, highlighted corruption, harassment, and wrongful detention as the most prevalent forms of abuse.
Power comes from the confidence and the consent given by the people to the police. And so it's very important for the police to behave in a manner which can inform that confidence and consent of the people.
How many people are ready, after seeing the threats and the killings, to come and stand and say, yes, I was there and I saw that happen? If you're not even sure if tomorrow you'll be the next, or the example that is shown. The standards of law, I know we have to keep by the evidentiary nature, but as well as we need to give support, more support to certain institutions to be able that this criminal justice system can actually see life.
Transport along the busy Meru-Maua highway was disrupted for several hours on Tuesday after Meru University students staged a demonstration to protest rising insecurity around their campus. The students who barricaded the road and lit bonfires paralyzed traffic flow, forcing motorists to wait for hours as police attempted to clear the highway. Officers later used tear gas to disperse the protesters and restore order. The learners cited a string of attacks and robberies targeting students, saying they now fear for their safety both within and outside the institution. They demanded that the government urgently deploy more security officers, increase patrols, and install street lights around the campus to enhance safety. Elsewhere, Machakos County Governor Wavinya Ndeti suspended 33 county officials over corruption allegations in a move aimed at curbing fraudulent activities within her administration. Speaking in Machakos, the governor revealed that the affected officials drawn from the Department of Administration, Trade, Liquor Billing and Tax Collection were implicated in issuing fake receipts and understating revenue collected. The governor said the names of the suspects have been forwarded to the DCI for further probe and prosecution. Ndeti warned that her administration will not relent in the fight against graft, stressing that all those found culpable will be held accountable.
These acts of misconduct not only betray public trust, but also undermine the integrity of our institution and the principles of transparency. We must shift the culture from one that demands corruption to one that demands integrity. We must build systems that reward honesty, not shortcuts. We must protect whistleblowers, not punish them. And thus, I urge you to support me in this fight.
Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki has called on Kenyans to respect boda riders while warning the riders against engaging in reckless or criminal behavior on the roads. Speaking in Irunduni, Tharaka Nithi County during a meeting with boda representatives from Meru County and players from Azizia FC, Professor Kindiki urged riders to avoid criminal acts, including assaulting drivers or damaging vehicles in the event of accidents. The deputy president also highlighted government programs aimed at creating employment opportunities for the youth, including initiatives such as Kazi kwa Ground, Kazi Mtandaoni, and Kazi Maju.
Wanaendesha pikipiki kiholela. Wanatumia njia ambayo haikubaliwi. On a busy highway, you do a dangerous high turn. Ama unaingia barabarani bila kuobserve vile sheria ya traffic inasema. Unabeba abiria wengi kufika siasi na hawana hata helmet. Sasa mambo haya machache ya wengine wachache ambao wanaharibu hii sekta, unawaharibia walio wengi ambao wangetaka kupata riziki kupitia hii sekta. Lazima tuwe watu wa kutii sheria. Itakuwa si vizuri mimi kama kiongozi kama sitawaambia ya kwamba baadhi yenu wanaharibia wengine kwa sababu ya kutotii sheria. Na mimi najua ya kwamba bodaboda ni biashara. Na watu wengi katika bodaboda wanataka kutii sheria, kufanya biashara na kuhakikisha kwamba hawatarishi maisha ya wale wengine ambao wanatumia bodaboda.
At the same time, Professor Kithure Kindiki has assured residents of Meru County that the government is committed to delivering key development projects in the region. Speaking during his visit, Kindiki announced that the construction of the Nithi Bridge is underway and that plans are in place to upgrade Meru Level 5 Hospital to a Level 6 facility. He emphasized that these projects reflect the Kenya Kwanza administration's dedication to improving infrastructure and healthcare for residents. Kindiki also dismissed opposition claims that the government has failed to deliver on its promises, insisting that tangible progress is being made across various sectors.
Watu walikuwa wanasema ati Meru ho, ati hii serikali haitakikani Meru. Ni kweli? Ni kweli? Ni kweli? Hii serikali saa hii tunaharakisha hii Meru Level 5 Hospital ifike Level 6 ikuwe kama Kenyatta National Hospital. tunaharakisha tuanze ujenzi wa Nithi Bridge ambayo watu wengi wetu wamepoteza maisha. Tunajenga masoko 21 katika Meru. Gakoromone ndio hiyo. Sasa alafu mtu mwingine anakuja hapa na Kiingereza ya bure na Kiswahili, alafu anasema sijui itamu ngapi. Sio ni uongo? Waende wasiende? Waende wasiende? Wapotee? Waende one way? Wacha nione wana nasema waende. Meru ni 2 term. Sasa kama mimi ni mmoja wenu hapa. Mimi ni jirani yenu hapa. Mimi ni deputy president wa Kenya. Alafu mtu mwingine anakuja hapa anasema 1 term. How? Mbona hawakusema siku ile nyingine? Hiyo 1 term mbona imeanza saa hii? Mbona hawakusema siku ile nyingine watu wengine walikuwa kwa viti? Ati saa hii ndio wamepata ulimi wa kusema 1 term? Hapana. No. Hapana. Ati saa ile tumefikiwa. Saa ile namna hii tumefikiwa. Alafu saa hii ndio unakuja na ukora wa kusema
Several boarding schools in Gatundu South were abruptly closed last week following reports of student unrest that disrupted learning. The closures sparked concerns among parents and education officials, prompting swift action to restore order. Academic activities are gradually resuming after education stakeholders convened an emergency meeting to find long-term solutions to prevent future disturbances. Authorities emphasize the need for proper supervision and measure to maintain discipline within the schools.
We have had an unrest in several schools. The number was about 7 now, but the cases are now being resolved, and we had come here to find a solution, like I told you. And we were holed up here in a 3-hour meeting discussing what action to be taken. We have discussed the unique issues from different schools, and we've been able to identify a solution to all of them. And I'm happy to report that now we have started coming back to normalcy. I can report that Queen of Peace Nembu has come back today, and we've agreed that by the end of the week all the schools should have come back. The ones that were mainly affected by raising down of the infrastructure were 3, namely Mororia, Oshekeni and Moho, and we've agreed with the principals that they will be able to take care of that situation without further ado. So they'll be able to call back the students immediately. So I'm happy to report that it was a fruitful meeting, and that we shall have normalcy come at the end of the week. You know, this term is not unusual. I mean, this term normally is a tough one because there is no midterm, there is no activities, there is no drama festivals, there are no sports. And it's also a time when the Form 4s are going to be doing their national exam. So there was tension related to that mainly. And as you'd imagine, then that would raise other issues or rations and issues of frisking when they're coming back to school, and you know, general issues that you would expect students to have. But I would imagine it was just partly exam fever and such things, but they will be addressed. We have agreed on what steps each principal should take to make sure that we have calm and normalcy by the end of the week. Those children have been released on bond. You know, this being minors, the process of making sure that they are in court is different from the way you process an adult, and therefore for the process to be within the law, it takes a little longer. You know, you need the children's officers' reports and such things, and so the DCI is going through the normal procedure as guided by the CPC, and therefore they'll be getting advice from the DPP on how to proceed.
All right, let's take a look at the newspapers, what is making headlines this morning. I'll kick it off with the Daily Nation. Ruto at 3 scorecard. Remember, he was sworn into office on the 13th of September 2022. It is September 10th, 2025, so that just 3 days shy of the 3 years to be precise on when he was sworn into office. And we basically this week have been taking a look at just what has he been able to do within these 3 years in office, what has he not been able to do. And so the Daily Nation this morning speaks of the race against time. 3 years in, the promises he's made, how much has been delivered. So they've taken a look at 12 different aspects of the country. Number one is on agriculture. The promise was to transform 2 million poor farmers to surplus producers. The other plan was on housing, where he was to supply 250,000 new houses per year. On healthcare, publicly funded primary healthcare and comprehensive insurance, and we've seen a transition from the defunct National Health Insurance Fund to the Social Health Authority. That is SHA. Has it fully funded primary health care, and has it offered comprehensive insurance? Remember, under SHA, okay, we've got the Social Health Insurance Fund SHIF, which covers primary health care, covers the Social Health Authority, and covers critical illnesses. And so these were all under the Social Health Insurance Fund, which was put in place sometime last year, around October 2024. And so in October, we'll be marking about 1 year of the Social Health Authority. So those are some of the aspects as well of what we'll be able to question under SHA, whether it has offered comprehensive primary health care, and has it offered you as well comprehensive insurance. On education, there was a plan to bridge the teacher shortage gap of 116,000 teachers and raise school funds. Now here, there's a big problem, and that is on the capitation. Like I mentioned, and I've been mentioning it for the better part of this week, because it is an issue that has largely been covered on the newspapers. We're having a capitation crisis, where out of 29,000 schools, just a paltry 3,000 has received capitation. We are in a situation where students have had to be sent home, where schools have had to send home students early because there's no food in schools. We're having situations where head teachers and school principals are playing cat and mouse games, literally, with suppliers and contractors, because they offered services, they offered products, supplied them to schools, but they have not been paid. Now, on gender, the plan was to achieve 2/3 gender rule in public positions. Basic examples: how many female cabinet secretaries do we have? And does that 2/3 gender rule apply on the executive before we can talk about other positions? Now, provide free sanitary towels in all schools and public washrooms. That has not been achieved. If you walk into a public washroom at this particular moment, you will not find a free provided sanitary towel. And has that been provided in all schools across the country? Well, no. Now, on governance, establish public inquiry into state capture. As a matter of fact, now this government is dealing with accusations of state capture in terms of weaponizing the criminal justice system. Talk about, the abductions, the demonstrations. Have we seen a free, space where people can voice their opinion without the fear of repercussions later on? On devolution, timely transfer of shareable revenue to counties. Well, that has not been achieved, because if you look at the newspaper yesterday, where counties had not received monies for 3 months now, and county workers have had to actually resort to private businesses to be able to fund their households, put food on their table, take their kids to school. So there has been a delay in disbursement of money to counties, especially within this financial year. For the last 3 months, counties will tell you things are not looking good. Now, on human rights, extrajudicial executions by security agencies will be halted and ended. Well, you can have a different view on that, especially just putting into perspective the demonstrations that have been there, and just the institutions that are being used to illegally abduct, to forcefully detain people, and just the cases of extrajudicial killings that have come out as well. Complete all roads under construction. Well, there's still a long way to go. Create jobs, scrap harsh taxes, and boost incomes, that is on the economy, as well as boost the manufacturing share of the country. So these are some of the 12 different aspects that he had promised to achieve, and so it's a race against time. It's not just 5 years yet, right? So we're just 3 years into it. And so 2 more years for the Kenya Kwanza government to be able to come in and fulfill these promises that they were to achieve. Now, during the campaigns, Dr. Ruto said his presidency would offer constitutional democracy, institutionalized politics, and open the doors for opportunities to all. Many of promises, according to most Kenyans, remain just that, promises. Since being sworn in office on September 13th, 2022, the president has found himself trying to push through ambitious reforms while facing public pressure over crippling taxes and a struggling economy. While he insists that taxes are necessary, frustrations over the rising cost of living threaten his re-election. So that is the headline this morning. Now, Gachagua 2027 kingmaker or going for the crown? That's the biggest question. Is he a kingmaker or going for the crown? Gachagua on narrow path between revival and doom. His allies call his maneuvering four-dimensional chess, yet in politics, unlike chess, the pieces are people. Now, the former deputy president is attempting a political comeback that now stretches to a presidential ambition, a move analysts describe as either a daring masterstroke or a reckless gamble that could end his political career. For some, the idea of Gachagua presidency is unthinkable, weighed down by the impeachment that hangs over him like the sword of Damocles. For others, it is a premature move to dismiss his resilience and capacity to reinvent himself. And that has been one of the biggest questions, because you've got a united opposition, but this united opposition have each got their own eye on the crown. If you look at Rigathi Gachagua, Kalonzo Musyoka, if you look at perhaps George Natembeya, Martha Karua, these are people who've got an eye on the crown. And so it's a question of, will they sit down and agree that this particular person, we are going to back him up? Or is Gachagua charting his own path to the crown? To the Standard newspaper, Billionaires League. President William Ruto rode to power on promises of uplifting hustlers, touting the bottom-up economic model as the cure for the struggles of ordinary Kenyans. But 3 years into his term, he appears to have abandoned that philosophy. While urging citizens to tighten their belts, he loosens the public purse for his own indulgence, spending 12 million shillings on a private jet to Addis Ababa. With schools starved of capitation and counties unable to pay staff, his taste for billionaire luxuries lays bare a leadership that preaches sacrifice, but practices extravagance. Interestingly, I can see quite a lot of billionaires on top of the page. And so you've got the famous Beyonce Knowles, you've got Elon Musk, who's literally a billionaire. You've got Oprah Winfrey right there, and Mark Zuckerberg, I believe, as well. So it's just a question on, is this a billionaires league, people that can afford those private jets from their own pocket? The same people that the president is being compared to, but it's not from his own pocket. Actually, it's from taxpayers' money. So does Ruto feel for hustlers after meteoric rise to empire builder? That's the question they're asking. As well as, in spite of a frail economy, Ruto doesn't mind spending big dollar. So this is something the Standard as well did an article on yesterday as well, headlined it on just this expensive trip to Addis Ababa, hiring a 12 million shillings jet when he could have spent just 1.8 book, a ticket through Kenya Airways to Ethiopia and back, whether as well for the aides that are accompanying him, but resulting to hiring a private jet for about 4 hours. And this jet charges, what is it, between 2.3 to 3.3 million shillings per hour. And so the questions really rose from that. Now, from selling chicken by the roadside whenever he broke free from school to joining politics and becoming the 5th president of Kenya, William Ruto has had a transformational journey that he's not afraid to speak about. Were he American, the country's most highly educated president, based on sheer academic qualifications, he would fit into the respected American idiom that goes from the log cabin to the White House. Now, if anything, the head of state has constantly narrated the story of his life, encouraged many that they too can rise from a hustler to holding positions of great value in society. That Ruto has risen through the ranks to what he is today is not in doubt. However, that has now been questioned with just whether this is working for his own benefit or for the benefit of Kenyans. That's the headline on top of the page. Billionaires League on the Standard, as well as city lawyer killed in cold blood in Karen, where he was assassinated by persons on a motorcycle. And that is the former political parties dispute tribunal chairperson Matthew Chalo Mbobu, was yesterday gunned down by unknown assailants. Now, finally, on the Star newspaper, how LSK court move could hit MPs and 2027 aspirants hard. How the Law Society of Kenya move could hit MPs and 2027 aspirants hard. They want 6 agencies to enforce leadership and integrity laws. Question is, why Parliament? Why would that institution be hit hard? Now, the society accuses 6 agencies of failing to enforce the Leadership and Integrity Act, as well as the Public Officer Ethics Act. The Law Society of Kenya has filed a case which, if upheld, would threaten the careers of MPs and shatter the ambitions of countless of aspirants gunning for the country's highest political offices in 2027. Now, anytime you've applied for a job in any public institution, there's always one of the requirements is that must adhere to the Chapter 6 of the Constitution. So what does Chapter 6 of the Constitution talk about? It talks about leadership and integrity, talks about ethics as well. So if at all, these sort of institutions can apply to the common citizen, question is basic. Why wouldn't it apply to persons that are going for higher offices as well? So how LSK court could move could hit MPs and 2027 aspirants. We also have how countries will share out 3.7 billion shillings roads levy cash. Details have emerged of how countries shared the 3.7 billion roads maintenance levy after a protracted battle with Parliament. However, newly released data reveals how countries' own multi-billion shilling ambitions for their roads networks will not be funded. And so that is the headline on top of the pages this morning. Well, the Star talks about that LSK issue. The Standard talks about the Billionaires League, while the Daily Nation talks about the race against time for President William Ruto. At that point, allow us to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be getting into the conversation this morning on how to beat alcohol addiction. So that conversation returns in just a bit. Stay with us. Don't go too far.